Hi, nice to see you all. Nice to be with you. So yes, this is me. I've been doing this for quite a while, 33 years or a little bit more than that to be exact. I've always been a software developer primarily, love doing that. On occasion, I'm called a serial entrepreneur, at least in the family, the few days that they're actually proud of me. And a system architect, but mostly I'm a complete data nerd. So I recently celebrated my LP birthday in the industry. That's 33 and 3/4 of a year. I'm determined to stick around for another 12 years and by the way, this is a joke for the old people, those that know these things. Stick around for my 12-inch birthday as well. Now, since 2012, I've been focusing on AI in business. And those that remember, in 2012, we saw breakthroughs in neural networks, and some of the technology that had then been classified as AI kind of graduated from the school of AI and became just, complex event processing and simple technology. And we got a new breed of unexplainable technologies that were then called AI. I started a company called ActivityStream in 2013 that was meant to focus on this. Left that for a little while ago, and now I'm with a small consulting company called Smart Data and Analytics. Now, I was completely obsessed with the democratization of AI. Let me explain. In 2013, 14, and 15, I was extremely concerned that the new AI technology that was coming out would only be available to certain companies, and that we would see advances in that technology being used by super corporations only, and that small and medium businesses would be left out. I kind of started an initiative called democratized.ai, but in 2016, 17, we saw a lot of open sourcing of TensorFlow and all kinds of technologies, and it became extremely apparent to me that it would not be the access to the technology that would create friction or competitive advantage. It would actually, all companies, if they wanted to use this technology, they would be able to do so. Now, I'm an avid believer that we are about to see a new generation of companies. I'm drinking that Kool-Aid all day long. And I believe that we will see companies that will be able to do things faster, better, and cheaper, and break this unbeatable paradigm or belief that you cannot combine the three. I believe that we are about to see companies that even if they are huge, they will be able to behave like your friendly corner grocer that knows that when you come in on Wednesdays, you're about to pick up a 6-pack of Miller Lite. Not that anybody should drink Miller Lite. Now, competing with this new generation of companies will be extremely challenging. I think that it will actually be somewhat like competing with Usain Bolt in a 100-meter sprint and giving him a 10-second advance. When will this happen? Well, this is one of my favorite sayings by Bill Gates, that we underestimate the change that technology has. Where did I start? We underestimate the change it will have in long term, but we overestimate, or we expect it to change more short term. Now, this saying, you've all heard it, but it's actually the last part of this saying that I'm focused on. And it goes something like this: don't be lulled into inaction. And what does that mean? It means for me that we know the technology is coming. We have been talking about disruption in fintech now for many, many, many years. And what does it mean to us as humans? It means that because it doesn't happen, and we're always waiting for it. We think eventually that it will not happen, and we stop thinking about it, and then, bam, it happens. Because when the technology is ripe, and it can be put to good use, then changes happen, and then disruption happens. But then a lot of bigger companies have been lulled, put to sleep in inaction, believing that things will not change. And for me, this is extremely interesting. Now, this is where, I went to an exhibit in Barcelona, the last big exhibit that Nokia participated in before the shit hit the fan. And they still believed that Symbian was it. They did not see smartphones coming at all, at least not the people that I talked to there. So they had been completely oblivious to the technology change that was happening in processors, in photography, image sensors, and all the things that made up the smartphone. And we see this pattern over and over again. You don't think things will change, but then they dramatically will. Now, I'm not going to be talking a lot about this. I want to talk about the infrastructure that you actually need to put AI into proper business use. This is the plumbing. This is when I mentioned earlier that I was obsessed with democratization of AI and believed that all companies could actually get access to AI, advanced AI, all kinds of models, all kinds of things. At that point, I realized that it's not the access to the technology that will matter. It's actually the readiness of these companies to use the technology. And the sad fact that most companies don't have the infrastructure, the data, or the process management, or any of the things that you need for this automation to take place, that you need to put AI to good use. And that's what I'm focusing on now, and I'm probably as obsessed about that now as I was about democratization before that. Now, data warehouses are a pet peeve of mine. I don't want to rant about that for too long, but I want to start this section with saying Gartner found that 80% of data warehouse projects failed. That's a staggering number, 80%. But what's worse, a lot worse, it took them 2 years to fail. 2 years. How many man-months? How big was the team? This is not like going to the store and realizing it's closed. This is like throwing a lot of money on data warehouses, finding that they would not bring you the benefit that you thought they were going to bring you. So, I said I was not going to rant about that a lot. I guess we're done. And instead, let's go to BI, business intelligence, and look at the maturity level. So this is another Gartner composition. It goes from unorganized, everybody looking out for themselves. We have some operational reports. We go to management dashboards. And it's actually interesting that management dashboards are where 80% of the companies are. This is where they stop. If they have, data warehouses or not, they have some specialized reports, and then the management can go and look at some dashboards. This is what we believe is the baseline now. Then we have self-service analysis, which we can put a question mark next to whether that's a good idea or not. We have data-driven predictions, and ultimately we have actionable insights and actionable intelligence. And this is where the magic happens. This is where IT finally starts helping us during daily business operation to get some shit done. And bleep, you need to just bleep me, where appropriate. And another way to look at this is to look at the type of analytics that are available. So this goes again from baseline, if we work our way up, to from descriptive analytics, meaning just tell me how much is happening, to diagnostic, finding root causes and looking at data, looking for clues, to predictive analytics. This is what will happen, not how much will happen. And to prescriptive, and then to cognitive. And you notice, as the line go across, we reach from working data only, looking at data, getting suggestions and help from data, to automation from data science. So we have some output that we can act on. And the further right the line goes, the more automation is possible for that maturity level. Now, here is an interesting combination of two of the main factors. So on the y-axis, you see business operation maturity. And business operation maturity is something like, do you have business process management? Can you run business processes? And I think this is one of the things that we in Iceland, we do poorly, maybe because we have not needed to do a lot of it, because we're so small, I'm not sure. But that maturity is on the y-axis. And on the x-axis, we have the IT infrastructure, analytics infrastructure maturity. And we actually get the breakaway. This is where, on this end, we start to excel, and we start to either retain or attain business lead or competitive advantage. And this is where prescriptive, real-time, pattern-based strategies are matched with situational context and situational awareness to start giving us that extra something. Now, what am I talking about? Let me give you the baseline example I've been given for the last 6 or 7 years. So imagine you are standing in a call center, and you know that in a call center of any reasonable size, we have KPIs, key performance indicators. We have them in real time hanging on the wall. You can see how many calls we're receiving, how many calls we are answering, what the average wait time is, and we can see all of that. This is the part that is how much is happening. And it's very informative for the people in this team. This tells them how well they're doing. But it's all on how much level. If we ask an extremely simple question from one IT system in only one scenario, this all changes. And that question is, has a good customer called us multiple times this morning without a conversation taking place? Extremely simple. A way for us to improve our customer care, reach out to those customers and say, hey, I see you've been trying to reach us. What can I help you with? And when we move from this how much over to what is happening, everything changes. Everything. The requirements for data, the requirements for analysis, and all the things that the infrastructure needs to bring to this simple data science task. Now, this is generally need a little water. Ta-ta. This is what is usually called operational intelligence. And that's the name given to the practice of using data science and AI into daily operations. And it's a junction between BI, performance management, and business operations. And this is the area that is of special interest to me. This is where we get actionable intelligence like the simple example I gave you before, and we get this information out to the right people at the right time so they can act on it. This is where we actually make each and every employee the most powerful, empowered version of themselves, and we help them as much as possible. This is where we create situational awareness. This is where we, by the help of IT, say, hey, did you notice this happened? And this happened can be simple, as from before, or extremely complex. This is where we use data analysis to know what's happening and raise flags. So things that a normal human being could not keep track on or does not have time in their business schedule to notice, and they shouldn't be noticing. So let's talk a little bit about then actionable intelligence, like this, and its perishable value, meaning it loses value over time. What am I talking about? Well, you can see it here, but a good example is if a house catches fire, that's extremely meaningful to you in the first minutes to know that that's happening. If you know that it's happening in 2 weeks, obviously it doesn't, or 2 hours, it's too late. The same is true for all of these flags that we want to raise. They have premium value, so if you can act on it as soon as it happens or as fast as possible, then it's the highest value. Of course, in this case, it would be awesome if we could use data and detectors to say, hey, have you noticed that there's a prime condition for a fire right now? You really should check out these things because a fire might start under these conditions. That would be awesome. And we should be, that's our ultimate goal. Now, we are looking at opportunities like this, meaning this actionable intelligence is actually an opportunity to do something better. We want to get those opportunities out there. We want to present the right person with it. Of course, we want to discover it first, and then we want to present it. We want to seize it, get some action out of it, and then we want to take the result of that action, and we want to continuously learn to do better. And this loop needs to exist, and we need data, of course, for this. Now, these opportunities can be sales opportunities to improve the top line. They can be operational opportunities to improve the bottom line. They can be service opportunities to improve customer experience, and so forth. But how do we get here? What do you need to do to get here? And the sad truth is that most companies are completely stuck in operations and maintaining the past. And this is a chasm that's really hard to cross. We can talk about technical debt, and we can talk about the evolution of technology and the adoption rate of technology, and when it's right to merely refactor something, when we, on the other end, need to rewrite it and change the technology that we're using. Now, I feel like when people talk about digital transformation, for me, what's happening is that the technical debt that we have run into is so high, and it's so unsexy to go and ask for money to address technical debt that we come up with this name, that digital transformation. We throw all the technical debt in there. We have an exciting project. Let's call it something, digital transformation. That sounds swell. Let's call it that. But what's really happening is that everybody is just stuck, and they're busy doing the things that the legacy dictates they must do. So I'm curious, although I cannot really see all of you. How many here, please raise your hands, work directly in IT in your companies? Keep your hands up. I want to, how many of, if your company has more than 10, 15 different IT systems, keep your hand up. Keep your hand up still if it has occurred to you at any point that it would really just be simpler to start a new company across the street, do the same thing, and start all over again. Thank you. And that's pretty much the deal that we are facing. Now let's focus on what's needed to get the most out of AI. And for me, the most important thing is a complete picture. I know that this picture that I'm showing you is not a complete picture as such, but I love this artist and this idea, so I had to include this picture. What it really is this guy that figured out that puzzles, jigsaw puzzles, are made with the same stance, with the same machine that puts the pattern in. So he started buying a lot of puzzles with different images and fit them together. I really love that. Anyway, so we need a complete picture of what's happening. We need streaming business activity data. I'll come back to that. And I have a hard time reading. Yeah, let's do it this way. Business process management, come back to that later. Suitable and up-to-date data available for all automation channels, chatbots, and etc. Analytics and data science capabilities, and APIs and integration options for automation. Okay, let's start focusing on the first thing. Streaming business data. What is that? Now, you all know that, or I assume you all know that systems and machines and devices and equipment all emit data on how they're doing, how much disk space is left, how much load the processor is under, how many pieces of fish fillet you're churning out. And that data is not a problematic in itself. We have that in abundance. Actually, the only problem there is that there's sometimes a lot of it, and it has variety and veracity, meaning it is not necessarily all using your preferred schema or in a way that you can put it directly to use. But let's not focus on that for now. The second level is application data. Think of this as how many people are using your website, your self-service portal, your phone application, and so forth. And the only problem with this, it's not hard to collect this data. The only problem with it is that often the developer chooses where to log it. It might be in different places for the website and the app, and the Android app has one thing, and the iPhone app has another thing, and it's all a little mismatched, but still not bad. Then it's the missing layer. This is the business data, the business activity data that for us to gain a complete operational overview, we need this. Now I have a question. My monitor is telling me that I have 58 minutes left, but I think that 2 minutes. Okay, so and we need to stream this business activity data to us. So this is and this business activity data is somebody buys a subscription, somebody cancels a subscription, somebody calls, somebody, whatever. It needs to be streaming in real time. It needs to be symbolic and semantic, meaning you have to understand what this data is telling you. These are real business events that you can put into context. This should be autonomous, meaning you should be able to look at one activity event like this, and you can hear I'm speeding up a little bit, right? And see what it's all about. So all the relevant information, what product is being bought, who's the customer, and so forth. And it needs to be autonomous and complete. And it needs to be a snapshot of the relevant world, meaning if we snapshot all the relevant information into the event, then you also have a perfect auditing log, and you can always know what was the world as important to this business event when it happened, you can see it all there, and you have a snapshot of that. And it should be enriched close to the source so that you can use that information in all the systems downstream. And if immutable, when you collect all this data, if it cannot be changed, then you also have a perfect audit log, which means that you will be able to see all the actions taken by everyone. And for auditing and security purposes, for example, in insurance, it's a huge security risk. If an employee goes and changes the bank account and a telephone number of a customer and then changes it back the same day, it will not show up in backup that this was done, but this change from A to B, from B to A, actually might signal that he is tricking somebody else into depositing money into a wrong account. So this is what I'm talking about immutable. Then let's talk about business processes. This is a simple process. Something happens, we need to make a couple of decisions and then take action or cancel something. If we want to automate this and use AI that we can certainly train to make even better decisions than our specialists, then that's this step. This is AI assisting some person. We might then actually mature this and turn it around and have AI make decisions that a person supervises. Ultimately, we can fully automate it. But, and here's the kicker, really. If we don't have business process management, how really are we going to automate any of this? How are we going to take something that needs to happen and use AI to automate it? And I think that there are only a handful of companies in Iceland that have proper business process management. And of course, that it really, you can talk about chatbots accepting these and so forth, but it doesn't matter what channel you're using. This will always be a problem that you need to solve. Now, I have a couple of more slides that I'm running out of time, right? It's done. Okay, so sorry, guys. There were, I'll do better next time. Come see me next Tuesday. I will be at a pub near you talking about this. I will leave you with this. Thank you. In this context, please remember that it's more important to do the right things than it is to do things right. There is nothing as sad as IT departments spending massive amounts of time doing the wrong thing correctly. Thank you.